Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and welcome to This Week in WoW for the week of June 27th. Still no Mythic Plus rotation set yet, but we can talk a little bit about last week's Mythic Plus affixes. The big thing last week was we had the return of Afflicted. So I was not that down on Afflicted the first time we had Afflicted. This was also with Tyrannical, so Fortified is next week. The first time we had Afflicted, I wasn't that down on it. I did have one very, very, very bad group where I basically had to do all the dispels, and then I had to off heal the other one, and I had to do the affix by myself. Unfortunately, this week I didn't do very many, but the groups that I did, they were all like that. So this is Pug experience, of course. Basically, the healers weren't interacting with the affix at all. No dispelling, no healing, just we're going to let it go off, or I would do it myself. And the forming of the groups was also particularly bad this week, in my case at least, where they were only looking to bring one like hybrid class. So like one rep paladin, one dispel thing, and then they would just bring like DPS only for the other two slots, which is fine, of course, especially if the healer is participating in the affix. However, if the healer is not participating, it makes it extremely unfun to be a damage dealer. You're supposed to be dealing damage. You're losing a lot of damage because you're doing this affix by yourself. And the healer, it's not like the healer's doing damage. The healer's just kind of there, existing, I guess, in the case of my groups. The reality is, the more I talk about it, I just had some really terrible healers in the groups that I had this week, is the crux of it. But definitely, if you are a healer, if you're the healer yourself in one of these weeks, like, do yourself a favor, do your group a favor, maybe try to get 2 hybrid classes just for this week. You can do your pure DPS classes other weeks. But if you can grab 2 hybrid classes, that's really good. Otherwise, if you only grab 1, that's fine. But make sure you're actually participating in the affix. Make sure you're always doing at least healing 1 or dispelling 1. Because, man, oh man, if you want to talk about making some things miserable, as a DPS player, having to do the healing and the dispelling of the 2 mobs, that is not fun. It makes me not want to play the game at all. So, that was my experience this week. Hopefully it was just, the random bad ones out of the bucket there, and not everyone had that experience. But boy, oh boy, was it absolutely terrible for me personally this week. Other than Mythic Plus, let's talk about what else is going on in the game this week. Probably the biggest news we had is the actual release date of patch 10.1.5. That's going to be in 2 weeks on July 11th. So coming up here pretty soon. This was around about when people were guessing. I know my official guess, I think, was July 4th. Maybe they push it back because it's technically an American holiday. Or maybe not, But that's the official day is July 11th. I believe, actually, that might be when the Sanctuary event ends. I'm not sure. Yep. So maybe that could have been a good way to guess it too. It looks like the extra XP bonus and extra reputation bonus that we're getting right now also ends that day. So that would kind of be a good correlation there to have found out what day the patch is going to release on. So we do have that coming up. So obviously I'm super excited about that. As far as this week, we have a PvP brawl as always, and then we have the World Quest bonus event, which again, during this time when we get the extra reputation, this is actually super advantageous to do if you are doing it for reputation purposes, Paragon chests, whatever you may be doing it for, Loam reputation too as well. So that's pretty big. And then towards the end of the week, we will have the Darkmoon Fair coming in, which also can give you even more experience, even more reputation on top of that. So that's also good. So the Darkmoon Fair will be coming through. Obviously, head there if you're a profession person, get your free profession knowledge points or whatever, and your skill ups if you're still skilling up. Get your free profession stuff, head to the Darkmoon Fair. Obviously, there's all kinds of other cool stuff to do there as well. All kinds of stuff if you check it out. It's not updated to modern day in a lot of cases, and I would love to see that happen with a lot of this stuff and in the future. Honestly, I think a good example. I don't follow Final Fantasy or anything really, but I do know that they have something called like the Golden Saucer, where like they do like mini games and stuff like that. And I think the Darkmoon Fair could be updated to be kind of more like that, even if it's the same games, but just kind of like this more like a more flash, like make the fair like a fair, like it's a flashy thing. Like if you ever been to a like a local fair or whatever in like a small town or whatever, like it's they try to put flashing lights on everything and this and that. It's not like you just walk around with a mallet and smack a a hogger or whatever. Although they have games like that, there would be like bells and whistles on it, I guess. But yeah, I would love to see, just a more modernized Darkmoon Fair, among other things, updated with the Darkmoon Fair. But we do have that coming up as well. Other than that, we will be heading into July, like I said. And yeah, we will be just a couple weeks away from the patch. Some interesting things to talk about with the patch real quick. The Mega Dungeon looks extremely cool. If you haven't checked anything out with the Mega Dungeon yet, I suggest you search for that. Just search like 10.1.5 Mega Dungeon and just consume content if you are someone who doesn't mind spoilers and stuff like that. There's just really, really cool stuff in there. There's really, really cool gear in there. It will have a Mythic mode that gives almost Mythic raid level loot. And it's most likely going to be rather difficult. It's not going to be easy, I'm sure, to do. And it does open up on heroic as well, so that way other people can experience it. But it's going to be, my opinion, will probably be tuned kind of like to like a heroic raid, like mid to end heroic raid level of difficulty, which we have kind of seen before in some cases. Some of the mega dungeons are hard when they first come out. Never spectacularly hard, but I know people had like a little bit of trouble on like Return to Karazhan when it first came out. And I do expect with the item level distribution in this dungeon that the mythic difficulty might be quite a bit difficult, which will be, and that can be a really fun challenge for like a 5-man group of friends who maybe can't raid because they don't have time or they can't all raid at the same time in mythic raid. It would be kind of like a 5-man mythic raid or at least a 5-man, heroic raid. And I think that'll be pretty cool. I've always thought that's what they should do for dungeons is offer that kind of thing without the Mythic Plus system, is offer like this harder difficulty of like mini raids essentially, and then you could have gear from that as well. I've always thought that would be a good idea. So it does seem like that could be the case with the dungeon. There's also all kinds of really cool items in the dungeon. There is an item that like a lot of them only work in like Ulduar and Uldum and all the olds ULD. And so like they're not overpowered for like the current content, but they have some really cool effects on them and stuff, and it looks really, really neat. Definitely super excited for the patch in general. Of course, there's been some like class tuning changes. There's been nerfs to items finally coming out in 10.1.5, like the rings, the Onyx Amulet, and the Aranog ring. So there's all kinds of big changes, meta changing type things, buffs, nerfs, all kinds of things coming out here in the last couple of weeks after it seems like they had taken a little bit of time off from tuning. I think maybe they're just really focusing on getting the patch ready, especially the mega dungeon. I'm sure that takes like some extra time there. And they're getting that already, and it looks like they're back on the tuning track once again. Skarn on Mythic, that's the boss notably that I'm on. We actually did extremely well on our first week of prog on him. We had him down to 25% with no Vaniscert on or anything even on our first week of prog on Skarn. And so, we actually did quite well in my opinion. Like I said, like 25% or something around there, and like, just got to see almost the whole fight, and just we were pretty confident, and now it's getting nerfed essentially. So we'll see how the fight behaves on Tuesday or today. We'll see how the fight behaves today, and then go from there. But feeling pretty positive about it. Head on to Magmarax. Hopefully that shouldn't take too long either, and then just 2 bosses down. And Echo and Notharian is probably maybe the harder one of those 2 to learn. So. Definitely looking forward to finishing up the raid and just, getting the cutting edge like always and kind of getting it done. It's always like kind of a sigh of relief when you're a 2-night, 6-hour guild of getting your cutting edge done. So hopefully we get that done sooner rather than later. That'd be really, really cool. So yeah, that's it for this one. As always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.